Hello, my name is Jingonelli, and today I'm going to be continuing from where I left off. So before I begin off, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We had ended on the assurance and the advisory services provided by auditors. So with this, what do they mean by assurance services? So with the term assurance service, we get to compose it of the 5 elements. So with this, assurance service is one where an assurance firm obtains sufficient appropriate evidence in order to give an opinion that increases the confidence of another party about a subject matter measured against criteria. Now with this, you can see with the 5 elements of assurance service, we have the three-party relationship, whereby we shall be having the responsible party, the petitioner, and the intended user. So to talk about the three-party relationship, the responsible party is one that prepares the subject matter to be examined. That can be management, and the practitioner can be the auditor, one who is the professional that provides the assurance on the subject matter, and we are having the intended user. This is the person who requires the assurance report. For example, the shareholders, as per the diagram I showed you last time in the previous video. So that is one of the elements. So in the exam, they can ask you to give some of these elements of the assurance service. So when I'm to look at the definition here, I can spot out some of these elements. We're having subject matter and sufficient appropriate evidence. When they talk about the increasing the confidence of another party, that can be the intended user. So with this, we're having the subject matter. Subject matter, it can be defined as the data which the responsible party has prepared that requires verification. So with this, management can get to prepare like financial statements. So by the term subject matter, for purposes of understanding auditing, you can relate it to the financial statements. So these financial statements, they are prepared by the responsible party, because if I told there's something wrong with the financial statements that are being presented to the shareholders, automatically the management will be held liable, so that the responsible party. So the subject matter can be the financial statements, the accounting system, or compliance with the laws and regulations. So we are going to be looking as the compliance as we head on. That is to do with the compliance auditing. Then moving on to suitable criteria. Now with the suitable criteria, this is all about assessing the subject matter in order to form an opinion. A perfect example which you can get from here is the IFRS. We can get to use some of these standards to form a certain opinion, whether it to assess whether it is valid enough in order to give a report to the shareholders. Then we are having sufficient appropriate evidence. With this is just evidence that is obtained by the petitioner, that is the auditor, in order to give assurance. Then we are having the assurance report. With this is just an opinion issued by the petitioner to the intended user. So after the petitioner drafting all that he needs, I will just draft it to the shareholders, that is the intended users. Then we are having assurance services. So with assurance services, this is where an auditor provides a reasonable or limited assurance in an assurance report. And I'm going to begin with reasonable assurance service. Now with reasonable assurance service is where a high level of assurance is given in an assurance report. So most of the times you will find that the assurance service is reasonable assurance service is more expensive than the limited assurance service, because when you look at the limited assurance services, it more deals with a review of the financial statements. So you would find that the limited assurance services is much cheaper than the reasonable assurance service. Because you may ask yourself, why would someone go for the limited assurance service? So that is one of the reasons, because the limited assurance service can opt out to be cheaper. So with reasonable assurance service, it's not absolute assurance, meaning that they don't give you assurance 100% due to the due to some of the limitations in an audit. So the assurance here can be like at 95%, so but not 100. Then assurance service is only provided when sufficient and appropriate evidence has been gathered using the relevant procedures. Then when it comes to examples, some of the examples of an assurance service, we can go in for an external audit of financial statements. So a question may come and may ask you for an example of an assurance service. So this is one of the example, an external audit of the financial statements. Then an audit provides reasonable assurance that financial statements are free from material mistakes. So with this all comprises of the reasonable assurance service. So with it, an audit provides that the financial statements are free from the material misstatements. Then in an external audit, audit evidence is collected by examining the financial statements, books of accounts, and the information from different sources outside an entity. An example of this can be verifying the bank statements. They confirm with what are in the books of accounts. Then we are having the opinion which is being given in the assurance report. So the opinion here being given in the assurance report is expressed in a positive form. For example, an opinion in an external audit report of a company states that so this can be in our opinion or in my opinion, if at all the auditor is one. So here you can say, if at all there are many, in our opinion the financial statements give a true and fair view of the financial position, financial performance, and the cash flows of an entity, and they comply with all the relevant IFRSs and the Companies Act. Then we go to the limited assurance service, where a low level of assurance is given in an assurance report. I told you someone can opt out for this because it is much cheaper. So with this, evidence is collected using only limited procedures, and a review of financial statements is an example of review engagement. So a question can come and ask you to give an example of a review engagement. So the example will be a review of the financial statement. And then here we are having a review of financial statements is where an auditor looks for the misstatements, mainly using the financial analysis of financial statements, and inquiries with the client personnel to obtain explanations for any unexpected relationships. So here what the auditor does is just to compare different financial statements and inquiries with the different clients, and at the end they can be able to obtain some explanations for any unexpected relationships. So in a review engagement, sufficient appropriate evidence is collected using just limited procedures, and here the opinion being expressed is always in a negative form. So here the review reports can state, for example, nothing has come to our attention which indicate that the financial statements are in the like the financial statements are material misstated. And then we are having they get talk about this review. So the review is cheaper is cheaper than an audit, and may be required by a client before paying interim dividends. So with this reasonable assurance is of an audit, and with limited with limited assurance service, it is to do with review of financial statements. Then we are having the last one for today, which is advisory services. So with this, advisory services are services that provide no assurance to clients and indicate the following. So with this, we're having bookkeeping and compilation services. So with this, audit firms keep the books of account and compile the financial statements for different small enterprises. Then auditors compile financial statements using the records, documents, and explanations by the management. And then we are having management retains responsibility for the preparation of the financial statement. Then here, an auditor prepares a compilation report to accompany financial statements, stating that there's no assurance being given. So then with the taxation services, this just deals with the preparation of the tax returns for companies and individuals to ensure compliance with the tax laws. And then we are having the tax planning and other tax advisory services, like taxation on acquisitions and foreign taxation. Then we're having the last one about the taxation services, assurance in the resolution of tax disputes with the tax authorities. If at all there are any disputes with the tax authorities, like URA, this is when they can come in and give these advisory services of tax or to do with taxation. Then we are having management consultancy. So here, auditors provide management consultancy services that enable clients to operate their businesses more efficiently and effectively. So these services include assessing clients' accounting systems and risks, and making recommendations for improvements, carrying out in-house retirement schemes, and so on. So with this, that is it for today. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We shall be looking at the types of auditing next time.